Hey everyone, today I have to do a water change in the fish room, so I thought like why not bring you along, right? So we'll grab a bucket, bring this over, and then what I do is I just use a turkey baster. So I have a video already that shows like how I do the valve and all this, so I'll link it up somewhere up here. You guys can refer to it if you want to. Today I'm just going to clean up the tank really quick. Martin is not feeling too good, so I'm going to just change a little bit of water by myself in here. He usually come with me and then he'll change the filter and vacuum the baby tanks and all that stuff when I'm changing the water. But yeah, today we'll just do a quick water change. So I got this drain open here that drains all the water into the drain that goes in the wall there, the main drain, and then I have the valve open in the back here. That valve here is actually for this tube. So I'm draining this tank here, that's the Lion Senga tank, and I'm also draining this tank, which is the AC Luwanga. So there's another valve here. When I do that, this one in particular, I unplug the heater. Most of the tank have the hang on the back filters here, so I unplugged those too. And I also started to empty those small tank at the top. So those were the hospital tank when we had the hic, those two here. I'm going to drain them as much as I can and then put fresh water in there, and I think the plan is that we'll use those two tanks to try to breed Petricola again. Because in the Lion Senga tank we have a few nice big male Petricola and a few like this guy here is nice and long, so that's a male, and right here for example that's a female and she's round full of eggs, so we'll put them in those tanks there when they're ready. But for now I'll just change some water in there. So this one here is on the hose there, the valve is at the corner here, so I can just turn this open and it'll drain this tank. As long as I don't let the water go down underneath here, and then because if it sucks some air then I have to prime it again. So I just stopped it right there, and we can move it to the next tank and then just keep draining them like this. It's usually pretty quick. Alright, so I just stopped the drain. I just have to let the water leak out of there for a second there. Just the water that's kind of stuck in that elbow that's leaking out. Now we just move it to the next one. And we can open our drain again. And you can see how fast it drains out of there. So the whole system's pretty quick. And then I'm starting usually with those two tanks at the bottom. Sometimes I'll start those when I'm cooking supper upstairs or whatever, because they're low, then they take the longest to drain, because there's not that much back pressure for the water to go, and they only drain to the pipe level here at the back, so I can leave them and they won't completely get empty. And that's the other thing too, why I don't have the elbow going all the way down in the tank like that. If for some reason one of the valve is leaking, I have to shut this one off. For some reason one of the valve is leaking or something, then it won't drain the tank. We won't find it tank with, fish at the bottom when inch of water, right? So I'm just draining this again. So those still have lots of salt in there, so they won't be ready to be able to breed the Petricola yet. I'll do a couple water changes during the week to circulate all that water out of there, or maybe pump some of the water with a pump, and then we'll be able to get them all up to temperature and good to go for those fish and set them up with the egg crate like I showed in another video before. Alright, so let's do this tank. And then while we're doing the top like this, I can always open a couple other one, like we can do this 25 gallon here. So this one is this. I have to organize my wire here. Everything is like a little mess here. But anyway, so I can drain more than one tank at once. The only thing that I can do though, it's because of the gravity and the water pressure. Like this is fine because it's just a small tank, and this one too. But because of gravity and water pressure, like if I would be draining those tank at the top, for example, at the same time than those one, then it would fill those one up. Because the water would rush too fast out of those big tank, and we wouldn't have time to all go into the drain here. Alright, this one is ready to stop. So I can just move it and then do those three with the same elbow right now. This here is preset so that I can run some pipe. We didn't have the tank here before, so I don't have the holes drilled already in here to bring some holes like this in the elbow, but I have a couple elbow already made. So, you know, I'll be able to hook those on valve that stays all the time when we're starting to use them non-stop, right? Or just like spare tanks. So, but now we're gonna start them up. And it was good that we had them as spare too, because of having the hick, right? So that was giving us 2 hospital tanks to be able to fix that. Now it looks like the babies in there are starting to be pretty big. Lots of them are big anyway. There's some ACs in here. Some of them are still small, so they'll stay in there, but it's usually something that Martin does as well when we, every week when we do the water change. If there's fish to move around, then you'll catch them and move them to a bigger tank. So, but today we're not going to do that. So this tank here where we have the AC is actually too low for the pipe, so we cannot drain this one in the system. So this tank and this tank here, we both usually hook up this pump in here. It's a 800 gallon per hour pump, and then we're just put it in the tank, and then we have enough hose here to run it to the next room over, and actually being able to drain it into the sink and in the laundry room. So I'll just put the hose into the tub here. I usually like to wrap it around at least once, just so that when the water starts to go through it, it doesn't swing out of here. There we go, it should be good. Now we're ready, I'll just plug it in. Alright, just like the other tanks, I don't put this all the way to the bottom there because I want to make sure that I don't drain the whole tank by accident, because there's that's going on right now. Alright, just double check that when the water starts, everything was good. Right, I'm just gonna start a little vacuum into the Pleco tank. Just vacuum the bottom out a little bit. Nice and quick here. This thing gets very dirty. Like I usually drain it like a few times a week. Some snails in here. I like to have the snails because we're breeding assassin snail, so try not sucking too much live snails there. So I actually feed all those snails to our assassin snails. If I didn't tell you I was actually like cleaning that a few times a week, you would have never believed me. Looking at it like this, it's always super dirty. Plecos are really good algae eater, but yeah, they poop a lot. Just doing a rough water change here. So we're still going to drain the tank with the valve after. Those two tanks here are pretty much done. Because of the way that the height the pipe is at, then it won't really drain more than that. So usually what I do is every couple of weeks I'll put this 8 gallon per hour pump into those tanks and then bring them way down more, like a quarter of the water left. But for now it's good enough. Alright, take this hose out of here and we'll start opening more valve and draining some more tanks. Yes, and then we can do a Plico tank now. So now we're doing this one, that one's done. Those 3 are done. And then we'll have to do those one, which I can start now because we're pretty much doing this level anyway. So I'll start this tank. This for this tank here, I got the filter and lights and stuff on that light bar and the heaters, so I usually turn this off here, and then we can start this zebra obligate on tank with this valve on this side. So now we're draining this 20 gallon, 10 gallon, 55 and 40 gallon. And now that this one is pretty much done, that's 35 or 38 gallon this one. Now I can actually put the pump in this bucket here and pump that water that we drain from the Plico tank. So one thing that I also do sometime too, is I'll grab that vacuum and then I'll start vacuuming that tank and then keep water flowing in that bucket while it's pumping. I think I get some snails stuck in there. I have to fix that. Actually, it pumps stuff out of there fast enough. The bucket's pretty much empty, so I'll just put this pump right in here. So as you can see, we have like multiple ways that we're doing the water change here. We used it, those Python, use the pump, and we also use the valve. And about the valve, this tank is pretty much empty. If I don't want to lose my vacuum on it, I better shut this off and transfer it to the next tank. As you can see, there's small holes that I drill on a cap at the bottom of this PVC pipe. It's just like that. It's to make sure that the fish cannot fit in here, so I don't suck a fish or a snail in there by accident. So it works pretty good. think so far we're what, like about 10 minutes in, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then I have like 2 going right here, and then this one going too, and those 2. Right. So we're doing very good. So I'm just gonna wait for those 2 to be done draining, and then after that I will open those 2 at the top. They're big tanks. That's a 40 gallon, that's a 50 gallon. They have lots of pressure, so I don't want to fill up another tank with them by accident. And then this one here too, have one of the Mangano had his fin injured because it was in a fight, so I put him into a floating container there. There's some suction cup on it to hold it in the glass, as you can see. So I have to bring the container down as the fish go down, or transfer them in another bucket for now while I do the water change. But usually I just kind of let this float. There's on each side there's space for air to get stuck into air pocket, so it will go down as the water go down in there. Oh yeah, and we have a yellow lab holding too today. So we have a few things actually. A yellow lab holding in this tank. We have in this tank here, I just saw that one of the baby female zebra obliquidens is holding. We have another female holding in this tank, zebra obliquidens. And this tank we have one of the juvenile ACR that's holding, and we just got our second batch of eggs from the lion Senga this week. And yeah, lots of stuff going on in here. So while we're waiting for this, I'll show you how I clean those buckets there. There's actually the baby lion Senga and some ACI in here, and lots of snail that we're breeding for the assassin snail. Every time we do the water change, they put their snout out of there and they start looking around for snails. Anyway, so that's the food for them. Not the baby fish, just the snails in there. But I'll show you how I clean the bottom here. So we'll grab a bucket, bring this over. And then what I do is I just use a turkey baster to grab the waste in here. The hole is small enough the fish can go in, but usually they're scared of it, so they'll move away. So I'll just pop the lid open here, and then I just squeeze it to take the air out, and then I just bring it to the bottom. See the fish are running away there. And then I can just take the dirt out of there. Here's another one there. I cleaned this 2-3 days ago. There's lots of waste in there because I want to make sure that all the snails keep breathing a lot. So we just put the water into this bucket here. I want to make sure that the snails breathe a lot, so I keep putting algae wafers in there. And obviously, as you can see how dirty it is there, they've been eating a lot. And then, yeah, I'll show you a little something here. I don't know if you can see in the back here, but this here, I was filming at the wrong spot. This here, that little patch there, it looks like a little patch with little bits in there. Anyway, that's all snail eggs. So the snails are breeding a lot in here. So yeah, so usually because the snails are breeding a lot in here, then I'll grab some of the bigger one. When I see that there's lots of eggs like this in there, I'll grab some of the bigger snails and then I'll just feed them to the assassin snails. By putting the dirt like this, the dirty water like this in the bucket that's white, then you can see too to make sure you don't catch snails or fish by accident. We're almost done with this here. But I'll put the phone down so I can do it a bit faster. Alright, now that we have this done, and then Pleco tanks over there and this tank at the bottom done, then I'll open the valve and then we'll do those two at the top. So there's the valve for the 40 gallon item behind here, and then we also have the valve for this 50 gallon everything on this side here at the top. Now we'll go up the ladder and then we'll make sure that this bucket here is actually going down with the water. And we'll have to shut off the filters in here. This one here is easy because it's just on the power bar here. So this one here, I dropped the bucket a bit, but you actually have to flip those here so that it just floats around in here. I should turn this over because the tap is at the wrong spot here. Makes it pretty hard. Anyway, so yeah, those bucket here, like I was saying earlier, there's like hair that get trapped on each side, so the bucket just stay up like this. It floats on here. Put a little plant in there, fake plants, so the fish feel a bit safer. Alright, so now that the tanker all drained, we're gonna put our water conditioner in all of them, and then we'll start filling them up. So for the water conditioner, I use this spoon here, a smaller one, actually 1/8 of a teaspoon. That's actually enough to treat like a 300 gallon, so you know, I don't even fill it up completely to treat those tanks. But the good thing about this stuff there is this kind of water conditioner is you cannot really overdose that, so even if you put a little bit too much, it doesn't matter. Okay, we get the water conditioner in all the tank. Now we're ready to fill up. So I saw that valve open here. That's for the drain, so usually I let that open until I get the good water temperature, and I come back in the room and then start opening valve, and then I close this one. So now we're here, just have to set the temperature. Usually this, I'll put that full blast. One of those tap here that I bought that actually has the most flow at the store there. Most of them are flow restricted now. So you want this to feel, just for the African cichlids anyway, you want this to feel just a little bit colder than the temperature of your ends, and then it's fine. See how fast it filled up the sink here? So that's how much water pressure we have. So I'll show you. I'll start by filling up those tanks at the top. So now I'll close the drain here. And then, yeah, I can fill up both of them at the same time. I like to start with the top, like that I do them by row, so the top first, and then center, and then the bottom, and I usually finish here, then I can reopen this valve for the drain after, as I'm closing this last one. Then I don't forget anything. And then now I'll just grab the tube there, and then I'll just start filling up those top one there at the same time. So I decided to drain those one as much as I can. I'll fill them, and then I'll redo another water change after to remove the rest of the salt that's in there before we try to breed the Petricola. And I'll do that just because most catfish don't really do good with salt, so that's the best way that I find to do everything. Now as the tank fill up, when they get high enough, I'll start reopening and replugging stuff so that the filters can start going again. Now I'm filling up 3 tanks at once, right? So I have to keep my eyes open all the time and concentrate on what I'm doing. Open the light in here so you can make sure you see stuff. This one's almost done here. It's almost done, so we'll be able to start opening other tanks soon. Keep our eyes on this one though. This one and that one. When you're starting your tank, if you're not sure the temperature of the water, and what you do, it's you actually just go touch your water with your hand and one of the tank, and then you can match it or at the tap there where you're refilling. So now that I finish all those tanks at the top there, and we're starting to go on to this row here. I'm doing all of those tanks. So that's filling, so we have like 4 filling up in the same time. Well, I hope that I find that water change video somewhat entertaining. I know it's not super exciting, it's just water change, but anyway, hopefully I was able to still teach you something maybe. If not, ask me your questions so I can. Alright, see you in the next video.